Okay, hello, this is Dr. James, and today I'm going to talk about how to switch two of the centerpieces on the Curvy Copter. We have the Curvy Copter Cube here. See how we have a red and a blue out of position? Now, I'm not, you solve the corners last on this puzzle, so I'm still working on this, and it's actually an impossible situation if you look at the orbits. But what we'd like to do is we'd like to swap the red with the blue, okay? And so let's look at an algorithm, see if we can figure out how to do that. Solve this guy with the this impossible situation where these are actually on different orbits, and we're going to have to probably use a jumble move to get there. So let's take a look at that. Should be interesting. Okay, today I'm going to talk about this butterfly cube puzzle that I got. And it seems to be a lot different than I made a couple of videos on the Mastermorphic, I guess. I've been saying that wrong. Mastermorphic puzzle, which it looks like a pyramid, but it is actually what I would call isomorphic in a mathematical term to the Rubik's Cube. Basically, it's the same puzzle with a few caveats. This guy seems to be very different. So this guy has 12 centers of rotation, one at each edge, as opposed to 6 for this guy and 6 for that guy. And this puzzle has different degrees of freedom, and it can actually be locked up so that you can't turn it in certain degrees of freedom when you rotate the puzzle in certain directions. So that's also very different than these guys, because these puzzles can never be locked up in such a way. Okay, so here is the Curvy Copter Cube. And I put some rubber bands around it because I was going to talk about the orbits of the pieces on this. So this is the Rubik's Cube and the Mastermorphic, which is almost identical to the, even though it doesn't look the same, it's almost identical. So with these two, you actually want to solve the corners first, and then there's algorithms that can solve the center, or the edges, without disturbing the corners. This one's kind of different. This one, you actually want to solve the centerpieces first, and then there's algorithms that you can solve the edges afterwards without disturbing the centerpieces. But so these centerpieces actually travel in orbits, and I put some rubber bands around here. Let's follow the green one. So this is one orbit. There's 4 orbits, and each orbit can only have, if you want a solution for it, can only have one of each color on it. Okay, so it goes around like that. So this is the orbit of one of the pieces. And so when I say orbit, I'll show you what I mean. And this piece has another orbit, this piece has another. Basically, they're all in separate orbits. Okay, so let me take these rubber bands off. Okay, so let's say we had a red piece here, and we want to see how that we can move this red piece. This red piece can only be moved. Let me start with this green piece. Actually, we'll just choose one piece with this piece right here. So the only way we can move it is either by twisting this way or that way, without deforming the cube. I'm talking about moves that don't deform the cube, and we'll have to use some of those because I'm going to show you that it's actually impossible to solve it like this. So if we go here, now the only way we can move it again is by twisting this edge. And then the only way we can move it again is by twisting this edge. And so see, it kind of moves on that diagonal like I was talking about, going around this particular orbit. And if you go 6 times, it will come back to where it was. I'm just going to move it back. But there's no other way that this can move without deforming the cube. Of course, there's another move that you can do where you do deform the cube. And what it does is it swaps 2 pieces across from each other, and either these 2 or these 2, depending on which way you twist it. If you twist it this way, and then you did this rotation, see if I get it lined up right. You got to get it exactly lined up right, and then you can swap it around like so. See, it flips these 2 and 2 of which pieces was it? I guess it's these 2 pieces. And if I would have, instead of, let me flip it back. Okay, so this move, we do a 180-degree inversion here, and bring it back. So if instead of doing these 2, I would have done you always have to bring them in, so I always think about pulling this part in like this. If we would have done these two instead, it gets bound up a little bit, then it would have swapped the other two angles. Let's see, get that lined up, get it lined up. Okay, like so. Come on. Okay, so you have a choice of which two that you swap, depending on whether you twist these two out of place or twist these two out of place. But it has a certain type of symmetry. Let me just twist it back. Okay, so let's talk about swapping. So we have, I'm not worried about the corners right now. I'm just going to swap, I want to swap these two pieces. And it turns out it is a non-trivial, you know, I've tried to solve the puzzle and I got it down to two pieces were out of place, they're swapped. But if you look at these are actually not on an orbit. Like, you can't twist it and go around an orbit and get this piece into that piece ever. The way the orbits go, remember I showed you they go like this, and this orbit never intersects with that piece. You're going to have to do some other transformation, because there's no way to get this piece onto that piece, because these orbits do not ever intersect. And if you look at it here, remember how I said that you have to have one of each color on an orbit? This has got two reds on this orbit. See that? As you go around the orbit goes like this, and it has one of every other color except for no blues and an extra red. And the same thing with this orbit. This orbit's got two blues and no reds in it. And so we're going to have to do something where we deform the cube, do what they call a jumble move. So we will swap one of these blues for a red, so we can have one red in this orbit and get rid of one of the blues. And we're going to have to get rid of, and for this one, we're going to have to pick up a blue and get rid of a red. And so I'm probably going to use this move where you go end to end. But what I might do is I want to still try to preserve the puzzle as much as possible. So let's say we want to swap this piece, and I'm not sure if that's going to clear up all the orbits. All the orbits have to have one of each color on it. But I'm going to move the problem to a different location, like a sliding puzzle, and we can keep on doing that until we slide it into a spot where we can eliminate it, because you have to eliminate things in pairs. So we have a blue here, and we would like to swap it. Remember, we can do a swap-a-roo with that one move between here and here, something across from it. But I would like to kind of preserve this puzzle and find a red that we can put here, so we can swap a blue for a red. It may not be the right red, so it may not go into the right orbit, but let's see if there's a red along this orbit. And of course there is. So there's a red over here. So if we move this red here, here, and then here, okay. So now we have a blue across from a red, so we can use our jumbled move, and I'm not sure which way we should twist it, because we're going to swap two of the parts, either these two or those two. Maybe we can swap them back later. Let's just try this. We'll swap, we'll just try it this way. Try to get it lined up. And we will do the 180-degree twist and bring it back. Okay. So now, what do we got? We swapped the red for the blue over here. Let's bring the blue back to where it was. We'll bring it back along its orbit. Back to here. Okay. And we'll see what that did for us. Okay. Okay, so now we replaced this one here with a red, and we no longer have this dilemma where this red is across from a blue in the wrong orbit. Let me just look at this for a second. We'll figure out which orbits we need to correct now. See if we've corrected this orbit. Actually, let's see. So this is the new orbit here that we maybe fixed. So we have a red, a blue, a yellow, an orange, a green, and a white. So this orbit is now corrected. We might have pushed the problem someplace else, but that's good because eventually we'll push the problem so that it will be in a position where we can swap its problem with another orbit problem and fix them both at the same time. So let me look at this and I'll figure out where we need to go next on this guy. Okay, so I went back and I tried the other way, because remember you had a choice where you could twist it either this way, use these two, or twist it that way. And if you twist it the other way, it puts colors other places. But this way, actually, I think we might be able to solve it, because remember we had a red here and a blue here, and now that one's been replaced with a red, and that blue one moved all the way over here, because we moved it back down along its orbit. And now, if we look here, there's two reds in this orbit. And I think we might be able to fix that by moving this blue piece, which we just moved out of the wrong orbit. Remember that blue piece was up here, we flipped it over here and then brought it around the orbit down here. So just with one simple twist here, we can put this blue piece across from this red piece up here now. And I think if we swap these two, this may finish our puzzle and allow us to have the orbit solved. And then once we have the orbit solved, it's possible to solve it by just moving the pieces around with non-jumbling type transformations or moves. Okay, so we have it here. We're going to swap the red for the blue. Okay, and okay. And I guess we could, or we just did a single twist, I think, like that to get it into position. And let's check the orbits, I guess. Make sure, see if the orbits are fixed finally, because we did finally swap those two pieces. So it's green, orange, white, blue, red, yellow. So that orbit is a complete orbit. White, green, red, blue, yellow, orange. Okay, that one's a complete orbit too. Let's see. Maybe I should be a little more careful because now I lost track. Check this orbit. Green, red, orange, yellow, blue, red. Okay. So I think that orbit's complete. And check this orbit. Green, yellow, red, blue, green, white, red, blue, yellow, orange. Okay, yellow, orange. So that orbit's complete. It has one of each color on it. Okay, green, red, yellow, blue, orange, white. Okay, so that one has one of each. Now remember, it's not solved, but I think that we have solved our problem with, we'll just check this last orbit. Blue, yellow, orange, white, green, red. Okay, so I think they all now have one of each color on the orbit, so this is now solvable just by moving the parts around by flipping these guys. And we'll try to, let me take a look at it quickly. Well, of course we want to make sure all these corner pieces are oriented properly in the final solve. But it looks like our orbits. Remember, you can't move the parts out of an orbit just by flipping these. But if the orbit is got too many of one color in it, you have to use a jumbled move to change that around. So I think now we have it solved so that you can solve it just by flipping it with non-jumbled transformations. And let me look at it for a second. We'll see if we can solve it now. Okay, I think it might be good to go. We might have removed that. I guess in other puzzles they might call that a parity, where you have two things that are flipped and it's hard to get them unflipped. Okay. Let me take a look at the puzzle and evaluate this and see if we can solve it from here now. Okay, so now we should have the orbits all cleared up, because it will be impossible to solve it if the parts are not on the right orbits. So let's just try, I guess, moving these parts around and see if we can finish up the solution, get it back to where it was. I know it's not an elegant solution by far, but I think it might make this puzzle so it is solvable. Okay, here's something interesting. I actually learned an interesting move, and it shouldn't mess up our orbits. It uses a double jumble move, and it will swap this with that and that with that. And so what I do, remember how we have that move where you can swap this one for that one? So we can see how I'm twisting this side up and that side down. If I do this once, okay, we'll do this inversion, swap it, and I'll swap it back by twisting the parts the other way next time, and it will just flip-flop. So see, I moved this one and that one, now I'm going to move this one and that one, and it will flip-flop those four pieces that I showed you. Oh, let's finish this move. And that should move the whites down into position. Okay, see that? And since it switched these twice, it shouldn't change the overall orbit of our solve. So it shouldn't have affected that. So you see how I did that? There's a choice when you do the flip from here to there. You can either swap these two like that, or you can swap these two like that, and it will switch these pieces or that piece, these two pieces, while it switches these two. And so if you do that once this way and then once the other way, flip it back, oh come on, it's locked up, it will swap these pieces once here and then back, so they will be unmoved after the whole thing, and it will swap these ones and these ones, so basically move these pieces down here like that after you do that move twice. Okay. And I think we're getting closer to having this thing solved. We want this red piece here, but let's see, can we get it there? Maybe if I move this piece over here like so. Well, you know what? We want to move that piece into this position, so let's move him here. And then we can rotate this red piece into that position and rotate him back. Okay. And oh look, we are so close, except for this corner piece here is rotated out. Okay, so again, I think if we do that double jumble move that I was telling you about a second ago that we just did, see, we got to rotate that piece so it's in the right position, and then we'll just twist these guys up. Remember, we're going to swap these two here and back, and it's going to effectively swap this one and that one when we do this move twice, but alternating between these and these guys. So that swaps that one and that one. Okay, so we should have a full solution here then by using this one. And like I said, by doing the jumble move twice, it undoes any swapping of the orbits, so we shouldn't have to worry about that. So the orbits should be correct. And I'll get this lined up. Okay, so we'll rotate that guy there. Okay, and now we'll do the same swap, but we'll twist these two this time. So we're going to swap things back. Oh, come on, it's getting locked up. There. Like so. I'll make sure we got those. Got to make sure we get it lined up so it will rotate. And we'll do another 180-degree twist there. And I believe all the centerpieces now should be solved. And so we were able to effectively, it wasn't very elegant, but effectively swap two adjacent pieces that were out of orbit. It was actually a, I don't know if you call it a parity error or orbit error, I don't know what, but there was, you know, two reds in one orbit and two blues in another orbit, and so you had to use a jumble move to fix that. And now there's algorithms just by twisting around the corners a lot of times, like so. You keep on doing this over and over again, going around the circle, and you do it, what, 6 times in a row. Come on. And it will move the corners around. 2, 2. Come on. 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, 5, and 6, 6, 6, 6. Okay, so that moves the corners around without moving the centerpieces. So that's a way you can, using those type of moves, you can solve the corners last and not disturb these pieces here, which would be annoying. You know, you want to make some kind of progress. So anyway, I'm not going to solve it the rest of the way, but it should be solvable now. All we have is the corners, and we can use that simple algorithm, just twisting it and twisting it until we get all the corners lined up properly. But the puzzle's basically solved already, and we were able to resolve that centerpiece swap issue, okay, by checking the orbits and making sure the orbits are all correct. Anyway, I hope this helps you out with this interesting little puzzle. This is Dr. Janes, and thanks for watching.